Okay, so first I'm going to make some changes to the Vortex using the preset editor. So I'm going to retrieve preset 13. Now I'm going to change pad 1 so that it is on channel 15. And the color is set to red. I'm going to change pad 3 to channel 15 and set the color to violet. I'm going to change pad 4 again to channel 15, and I'm going to change the color to cyan. Next, pad 7, change that to channel 15. I'm going to change pad color to magenta. Pad 8, channel 15, color white. Now I've been changing the color so that it's easier to identify which pad does what, and I've changed the channel to channel 15 because the Vortex uses channel 1 and channel 2 for playing the keys, and it uses channel 10 normally for the pads, but channel 10 is traditionally used for drums, so I've changed it to channel 15 so that I don't conflict with anything else. And that's all I'm going to do in the preset editor for the moment. So I'm going to go back to File, I'm going to go to Send Preset, and I'm going to send it back now to the Vortex. And that's that done. So now in Ableton Live, I'm going to go to File and New Live Set. In this set, I'm not going to use any audio tracks, so I'm going to right mouse click on the header and going to click on Delete for the 2 audio tracks. For MIDI track 1 here, I'm going to go to Drums, Kit Core 909, and I'm going to, if you click on it, you'll notice you can hear a sample. Now I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to drag it to the first track. Now on this first track, we've got a lot of these loop sections here. I'm going to click on this first loop section. And that's a double click. And then down here, we've got this step sequencer that comes up for that track. Now, if I put the mouse over the name section here and then click down on the left mouse, I can drag down to the bottom here where I need to go for the kick. So I've got my kick down here. Now if I want to put a note in the step sequencer, I just double click with the left mouse button, and I'm going to do that again and again and again. So that's my kicks in. You'll notice that this section here is in a darker grey, and then that section's in a lighter grey, and another darker grey than a lighter grey section. Each one of these sections is a beat, and there are 4 of them because firstly we're on over here 4/4, which is 4 beats per bar, and this represents 1 bar. And over here in this section the loop has been set to 1 bar length, so there's 4 here, and each one of these sections is then split into 4, so you've kind of got quarter notes for each beat. Right, so now I'm going to go to the snare, which is the 3rd one up here, and I'm going to line around here, and I'm just going to put a snare in there. So now I've got a sequence. If I go up to the top of the screen here and click on this triangle here, which is a play button, it does absolutely nothing, because what I've got to do is go over here to the triangle on the loop that I've just set up, and if I click on that one I can hear the loop back, and it will basically keep playing as long as I want it to play. If I want to stop the beat, I come up here to the square and press on the stop button. Now what I am going to do now is I'm going to go to the 2nd slot. I'm going to come down here, and if you click on this section just here, you'll take away the step sequencer, which is this one here, down here, so you can alternate between the 2. This section here basically takes you to the drum kit here. It's on the kick at the moment, so I could actually change the frequency of the drum. So if I wanted it a lower beat, I could make it lower. If I wanted a higher note, I can make it higher. And if I click here on the snare, I can do the same with the snare or the hi-hat or the toms from this section here. But I'm going to go and do another step sequence. So I'm going to come back up here, and I'm going to double click on the 2nd one. So I've got another sequence here. This time I am going to use the low tom. I'm going to put that low tom in there. And I want the high tom, which is here. In those 2 slots there. I'm going to drag down here to the kick. So I'm going to put a kick in just here, and I'm going to put a snare in just here. So now if I go back up to this triangle and I play on this one, so I've got my 2nd beat. So now I'm going to go to options, and I'm going to go to preferences. If you're using an iMac, preferences will be in a different place, and the thing I'm looking for here is, of all these, is this one here, this tab here, which is MIDI, is link MIDI, and this section here where it says MIDI ports, and here it says Zoom U22 MIDI, which is what I'm playing through the sounds. But now I'm going to turn on my Vortex, which I've connected to the computer, and now you'll see that the Vortex Wireless 2 has appeared in these inputs. You'll see in this first line track here, this is on, so we can use the Vortex to play keynotes. But for assignments, I want this one here, which is remote. So here, normally, if you've put the Vortex on for the first time, that will be switched off, and you want to make sure it's switched on. So that allows us to assign to the Vortex. Otherwise, this next section won't work. So I come out of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go up here to this section, and I'm going to click on MIDI there, which highlights the screen blue. Now I'm going to go down here and click on here to get rid of the step sequence. And I'm going to just drag on this up here to make sure I've got the two top drum beats. This here just basically will allow you to move the list up and down. Alternatively, you can come down here and click on this triangle here to remove that section completely, and that will give you a much better view of what's going on up here. So now I'm going to click on this first drum beat here, and on the Vortex I've got the Vortex on preset 13, which we just did a few minutes ago. So on here I'm now going to press on pad 7, and you'll notice now that it's been assigned here. So pad 7 now is assigned to that first beat. Now if I go to the second beat, so I click on the second beat here and I'll press on pad 8. Now I've got both of them set up on here. Slot 1 and slot 2 of the drum track have now been assigned. So I'm going to go back up here to MIDI and I'm going to tick that off now. So if I press pad 7 on the Vortex now, plays beat 1, and if I now press pad 8, it swaps over to beat 2, and if I press pad 7 again, it goes back to pad 1. I'm going to turn that off. It's also quite inconvenient to keep coming back up here to turn the beat off. So what I'm going to do is going to go to MIDI, click that back on again. I'm going to go to the stop button. So I've clicked on the stop button, and as we assigned before pad 1 to be a red button, I'm going to click on pad 1 now, and that's now been assigned to the stop button. So if I turn the MIDI back off again, that MIDI button off, if I play pad 7 now, if I now press pad 1, it stops. Okay, so now that I've got my drum track set up, I'm going to set up 2 sounds for the Vortex keyboard. I've got one MIDI track here, so I'm going to add a second MIDI track. So I'm going to click on this top bar here with my right mouse button, and I'm going to go insert MIDI track. So now I've got 2 MIDI tracks across the top here, and I'm going to go down here to go up here to sounds. Then I'm going to go, so I'm going sounds, pad. I'll open up the pad, and I'm going to go with the snow pad. Once you click on it, you can hear it, and I'm going to drag that to the second MIDI track, and you'll see the functions of it come up down here. And now I'm going to go back to sounds again. I'm going to close down that pad, and I'm going to go down here to synth leads, and down a bit further, right at the bottom here we've got thicket. So I'm going to take thicket and I'm going to stick that one into that one there. And I don't like the master sound being quite so loud, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on the master sound. I'm just going to drag it down just a little bit here. Okay, so now I'm going to click MIDI again, and I'm going to go to actually play these sounds on the Vortex. You need these buttons down here, these arm buttons, to be on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on one of these arm buttons, and then I'm going to click on P3. That's been added up here, and then I'm going to click on the other arm button, and I'm going to click P3 again. And what that has done, and then I'm going to turn MIDI off. And what that has done is means that now if I just turn that off, if I now click on pad 3, I will arm both those sounds, so those sounds will now work on the Vortex, and if I click it again they'll go off, so the Vortex will now not play anything. So if I arm it again, and I'm on, which one am I on? They're both playing at the same time at the moment. But that's not really what I want. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to all channels, and I'm going to set the pad to pad 2 to channel 2, and I'm going to set this one to channel 1. Now the reason I've chosen these is because the snow pad is a bit like a rhythm guitar type sound, so I put that to channel 2, and I've put the thicket is a lead, so I put that to channel 1 because that's the one that has channel 1 by default has the pitch wheel, and that's more appropriate for a lead sound than it is for kind of rhythm sounds. So that's why I've chosen that way round. So now when I play, on the upper zone of the Vortex, I get the channel 2, which is the snow pad, and if I press now on the for the lower zone, I get the thicket. So now that's set up some sounds on the Vortex. But I don't just want the 2 sounds on the Vortex, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click back on this, right mouse click on this top channel here again, and I'm going to click on insert MIDI track, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to insert a second MIDI track. So I've got 2 more MIDI tracks here. Right, and for the first one I'm going to go to sounds. I'm going to just close down, so I'm just going to shrink that synth one down, because what I want is here is the voices. And I'm going to add, what I want here is the voices. I'm going to add the spacious choir to MIDI 4. So that's the 4th track. And then I'm going to go back into synth lead, and I'm going to get, it's here somewhere, Java. So I'm going to add that one to MIDI track 5, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into MIDI, and I'm going to click on MIDI track 4, and I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to press on pad 4, and I'm going to do the same with track 5. I'm going to press on pad 4, so those 2 have come up there now. I'm going to take that back off. Once again, they're both playing the same channel, so I'm going to change the channels to 2 and 1 like I did last time. Now I'm just going to turn it off. Okay, so now I have a situation where if I press pad 3 now, I get the first 2 group sounds come up here. Now if I press on pad 4, it swaps over, so that was quite loud. Let me take that down a little bit. So now I can press pad 3 anytime I like, or pad 4 anytime I like, and it will change over between the different sounds because it arms the different sounds. Now the only thing you should be aware of here is if you forget which one you're on and you press pad 4 a second time, you will actually disarm everything, which means you'll get no sounds. But the upside is that you can actually press pad 3 and 4 at the same time and actually get a combination of the sounds. Okay, so now that I've set up the Vortex to have not only one pair of sounds using channels 1 and 2, but I've also got a second set and I can swap between the two with the pads, so that's cool. And at this point, obviously I'm going to want to come back to this time and time again. I'm not going to keep making it every time I want to play. So I'm going to go up here to File, then I'm going to click down here on Save Live Set. And when you click on that, this screen comes up, and then down here I'm just going to put this down as Demo 1, and that will now save it to Demo 1. Okay, so anytime I want to actually bring this back later, if I now decided, if I just opened up Ableton and I wanted to install this one again, I would just go back here to Open Live Set, or for more convenience, if it was the last one or one of the last few ones you've done, you can go to Open Recent and it should be sitting at the top of that list, and then it will just reload it back in for me. And there you have it.
If you've enjoyed this video, do give us the thumbs up and click on that subscribe button. Cheers.